Throughout various trading card games, we as players often find ourselves developing strong attachments to our accessories. Whether it's a cool deck box you got at a tournament or some custom sleeves you picked up online, there's this natural inclination to see ourselves in the gear that we use. Of these peripherals, nothing is more intimate with our personalities than the playmat. Stretching the battlefield, the playmat sets the stage of our duels, framing our experiences with their various colors, textures, and arts. But what if I told you there's more to playmats than what you might initially think? Well, almost every trading card game player has a rubber mat that they've either acquired from an artist that they like, from an online store selling meme mats, or even one that they may have won from a tournament. There is a lesser known mat that oftentimes tends to be forgotten, if not overlooked by the masses. The cloth playmat is the first TCG playmat to be commercially available to the public, and is generally viewed as a relic of an older era. Even so, there are many enthusiasts and dedicated trading card game players that swear by these peculiar two-player sized mats. But why? Where did these come from, and what's the point of still using them? Hello again, this is your buddy Rex speaking, and today let's go over a brief history of cloth playmats, break down what makes them so special, and why they're near and dear to our hearts. Oh yeah, and since this is a Grand Archive channel, we have a special announcement at the end of the video. Make sure to check it out. First, let's rewind for a second and go back to the very beginning. In 1993, something magical would happen that would shake the whole world. The very first trading card game of the contemporary age, Magic: The Gathering, would release, and with it began a cultural uproar. But with its inception came many new challenges. How do you physically play cards? What should the layout of a battlefield even look like? To alleviate some of these issues, a man by the name of Japji Khalsa and his friend Jeff Brain created the very first high-quality playmat, coining it the Spellgrounds. While fairly simple, being made of just some cloth from a local fabric store, it succeeded in achieving the basic goal of keeping their cards from getting sticky from playing on more uncontrollable surfaces. Loving the new surface to play on, they were then inspired to add art to the fabric, and this inevitably led to the original V1 Spellgrounds. Spellgrounds weren't initially a massive cultural success, being a passion project of the creators at the newly formed Khalsa Brain Games. However, the pair ran into no troubles moving cloth mats during conventions, more often than not selling out before the end of the weekend. The team would eventually go on to gain the official license to sell MTG playmats and even make special trophy mats for world competitors between the years of 1996 to 2006. Shortly after 2006, however, KB Games would lose the rights to produce official MTG cloth mats, as the rights would then be sold to Ultra Pro, who would then go on to make various Magic rubber mats, even still to this day. However, this didn't stop Khalsa Brain Games from continuing to do what they loved. The family-ran business would continue to create various different Spellgrounds cloth playmats, and even now create new and unique pieces of art. While cloths may have lost their home in the Magic: The Gathering crowd, a new demographic would adopt them as their own. Yu-Gi-Oh players, and to some extent some Pokemon players, would continue to use cloth playmats. The Yu-Gi-Oh players, cloths would honestly become more of a status symbol than they ever were to Magic players. Older, more rare Spellgrounds would become highly sought after, with many such as V1 Spellgrounds reaching thousands of dollars and V2s being worth several hundred themselves. It became a way to showcase how dedicated and serious you were to playing cards, as surely anybody who would drop huge money on these mats has to take their game seriously, right? Oh yeah, and on the note of V1 and V2, I forgot to mention, there are several different versions of Spellgrounds, ranging from version 1 all the way to the newer version 8, each with different textures. And it kinda gets more confusing from there. See, Khalsa Brain Games isn't the only manufacturer of cloth mats. In fact, there are several other companies that have come into the cloth mat scene to claim their stake in the history of cloth mat. Some of the more common ones in today's day and age are Pyramid, Yggdrasil Materia, and Metamats. My favorite of the bunch are Pyramid, with their incredible assortment of various fabrics, screen printing techniques that allow for unique color gradients, designs, and get this, they even have a gacha system on some of their drops. Of all the different fabrics from various manufacturers, each will have different attributes that will differentiate it from its peers. Generally, when buying a cloth, we are concerned with surface playability, touch and feel, thickness of the material, ink resilience, maneuverability, and directional grip. Surface playability is the ease of use in regards to stuff like resting cards, sliding them around on the surface, card fanning, etc. Touch or feel is the quality and how rigid or soft the fabric feels. Something could have a leathery surface, whereas something else could be incredibly soft to the touch. Thickness is how thick the primary fabric and any attached backing make the cloth mat feel. Some feel incredibly thin, whereas others might as well be a mattress. Ink resilience is how resistant a fabric is to cracks from continuous use. Generally, most cloth mats use a technique called screen printing, which allows for the ink to crack if the fibers start to separate, and there's low ink resilience. However, on some fabrics, the ink is less prone to cracking. Notably, this cracking isn't a quality issue and will not cause the inking to come off the mat. It just has to do with how the mat actually absorbs the inking during screen printing. Maneuverability defines how smoothly cards glide on the surface of the fabric. Some fabrics will have a higher coefficient of friction, gripping the cards more than a mat with a smooth maneuverability rating. And tied to the maneuverability of a fabric is the directional grip, which is how the fabric feels in different directions. Sometimes moving in one direction, you'll actually feel a lot of what's called pile, where you get high friction moving in that direction. Today, cloths are mostly tied to enthusiasts who enjoy the unique tactile feedback of playing cards on them. While significantly less common than rubber mats overall, the irreplaceable qualities make them a mainstay for enthusiasts that take a particular fascination in their TCG equipment. If you yourself have any interest in cloth mats, I, as an avid cloth mat fan myself, personally recommend giving them a go. With that said, I'd like to plug Pyramid as my go-to source for cloth mats. They have a huge selection of cloths in various qualities, so be sure to pick one that might be suited to your direct taste. Personally, I find that the DLES fabric is a great entry material on average. We also have our own Chess Club Grand Archive themed DLES mats available on the Merlin's Marketplace website, featuring Shira and Jin if you happen to also be a GA fan. This is Rex, hoping you enjoyed this brief history lesson and appreciation for cloth mats. Signing off. Thank you for watching. Later.